stream has been okay. That's just more Susanisms. Hey, Wolverine's in and Kyle. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys aren't Jacob's in. Head back to work in a few minutes. Probably sound this title already. Well, I know there's a good hunk of you that enjoy political and topical conversations, and others who don't so much. But what's going on right now, really pissed me off. So I wanted to have a stream and get you guys' where I can get you guys' take on these things. Mr. Badlands is in, and Cesaro, and Z Hills, Willie, Rocky. Lix, I am my favorite Among Us streamer, Joe Biden. Not 69 Spider-Man, John Han, and Isaac. The whole thing with the, and I would just like to see what you guys think about this. The whole thing now with this Hunter Biden and the potential for his father being connected in a very potentially deep and financially meaningful way with Hunter's dealings, and by extension the Chinese government, is shocking to say the least. But what is even more shocking is the mainstream media outlets have chosen protecting a candidate over reporting the news. And I'm beyond. Susan probably will get pissy. I don't even care at this point, Big Green. I am beyond pissed off by that. Again, you guys know my education was in journalism. And as somebody who always respected certainly the concept of a free press, and revered it, it's become a sham. It's a travesty. It's garbage. The mainstream media is absolute junk. How can you not report on this story? Now, however you want, whatever angle, because all news media takes angles now on things, whatever angle you wanted to use to report on it, you can't ignore something like this and be considered actual news media. It's beyond the pale. And you've got CNN, MSNBC, major New York Times. The Times touched on this story, but only to try and disparage it. And the New York Times had already done themselves in for me some time ago when they published an opinion piece by an anonymous author, which is like the number one taboo in newspaper journalism. It's never done, because if somebody has an opinion, they need to attach their name to it to give it legitimacy. And the New York Times was willing to even poo-poo that notion because they thought it might help their political means or their political desires. So they've been garbage for some time, but I'm just absolutely stunned. Rip T, respectfully, anything that may or may not be going on with the Biden family has got nothing on the entire laundry list of shit the Trump family is involved in. And now, so this is, people like Rip, I think, are a part of the problem, because do you have any idea what you just said in relation to what I'm talking about? And all the shit the Trump family is involved in is reported on endlessly. It's in the news everywhere. You can, anything they do, have done, and it should be. It's newsworthy. I mean, he is the president. So anything they do should be reported on, and it is. Respectfully, when the Bidens are potentially, neck deep in corruption, in serious corruption that could potentially hurt our own nation's security, they don't want to cover it because, oh no, it's like NPR said, we're not going to waste our time on that. Without giving any rationale as to why this isn't legitimate, as you have the people involved, not anonymous sources as the media tends to like to use, the people directly involved coming forward and saying, yes, this happened, that email was sent to me, and they're not covering it. This is exactly it. What does, and I would, because this is the stuff I see that that really amazes me. So I'm going to look for Rip's response here. What does anything the Trump family may have done or is doing, what does that have to do with whether or not we should cover this type, and especially as journalists who are supposedly news reporting, the news reporters that America looks to give them the news and what's going on and the facts, what does that have to do with not reporting anything on this whole issue, potentially explosive issue with the Bidens? So maybe Rip, you can explain that to me, because I don't understand it. Bear Trap says, I think one of the most dangerous parts of this is that a lot of these media sources claim to be unbiased. I would feel much better if you were at least open about their biases. I've said the same thing, Bear Trap. It's like people, and if you criticize CNN, MSNBC, or any of them, the common refrain is, well, Fox News is just as bad from the other side. No shit. But I never used to watch Fox News. I never have, because Fox News was always that way. Fox News always leaned so hard that I didn't have an interest. I'd rather see news that comes from at least a largely unbiased source. And Fox News never was that. But CNN, the New York Times, places like that did used to have journalism integrity in their journalistic practices. They do not anymore. They've completely abandoned it to the point where they're just a mockery of themselves. And so I agree with that completely. I'm just trying to see anything I might have missed on this. Christian says Biden's former business partner just confirmed it, and the media are now the enemy of the people. They aren't defending a candidate. They're defending the establishment as a powerful political entity. Something to be said for that too, Christian. I'm still looking to see. I'm waiting for, because that just blows my mind. It gives, what Rip T said is exactly what gives the mainstream media their out. And I'm waiting. I haven't seen it. I'm waiting for the explanation as to why the Trump family's potentially nefarious dealings, which are well reported, how the fact that they exist excuses the media from not covering Biden's transgressions. But I guess there isn't an answer to that, because we're not going to see it. Damon, it's true. Damon says, I keep hearing about people in America saying they have to watch Sky News Australia just to get real American news. It's sad, but it's true. It's just it's gotten so far over it's beyond any pretense. Like in the old days when I used to watch CNN all the time, because I'm kind of a news junkie. I like the news. So that was my go-to. Now, they always leaned left. It was never not apparent that they leaned left, but they weren't over the top about it. They weren't like Fox News about it. They just, you could tell in their reporting they had a leftist slant. No biggie. They still reported on everything, and for the most part, fairly. And now they've completely thrown that away. There is no thought, no consideration even of reporting the news. It's all about furthering their objectives. Just a Fan says, we don't have centrist, fair, objective media. It's sad, isn't it? I mean, it really is discouraging to me. And I've told you guys before, the reason I come down so hard on CNN is because I liked CNN. That's who I used to watch all the time. And you can't anymore. Okay, Rip T, here's an answer. It doesn't excuse the issue of the Bidens or lack of coverage on it. Of course not. Well, that's what this is about. That's not what I'm arguing. While I do agree the media news coverage is biased, I think the Trump campaign... Well, then why would you be arguing anything? This conversation is specifically about the news media, the mainstream medias, playing a role of trying to protect a candidate rather than deliver the news. Anything else has nothing to do with the conversation. So you apparently need to complete your thought. But what would you be arguing about that? We're not arguing anything else. Dragon says, things like this is why I'm voting for Trump. I may not like Trump, but at least I know what I'm getting. I'm just, Dragon, I guess I shouldn't even be a little surprised, really. But it doesn't sit well with me. I mean, I have zero use for mainstream media and will have no use for them for the rest of my life, simply because, okay, let's say Biden wins the presidency, they get the candidates put into place that they want. Immediately, those mainstream media outlets are going to reach out to the people and say, oh, no, we've been your friend all along. Look, we're going to report fairly now. We accomplished our goal. But when you've shown that you're willing to become nothing but a shill for one side of the political aisle when it suits your purposes, you don't have any integrity, and you don't deserve to have what you put out there consumed in any way. Yeah, Kyle, it is a whataboutism, and it's like I'm just, again, is the Trump family clean? Of course not. Of course not. And in fairness, to be honest with you, anybody who reaches that level in both politics and business is probably not going to be completely clean, but it's all reported on. My question is, why do we not report on it when a man who is leading in the polls to potentially become the president of the United States of America has some very serious allegations of corruption, and corruption that is international, and you don't even bother to report on it, as NPR said, because it's silly. We're not going to report on that, and give no reason why. No explanation as to why they think. Now, one of the early excuses mainstream media outlets were using was, oh, this is just going to be more Russian disinformation. All the intelligence agencies in America have come forward and said, no, it's not. Whatever this may be, this laptop is not part of Russian disinformation. And they just ignored that. They don't follow up, CNN, who said it, any of them, they don't follow up once what they're using as their reason for not covering this. They don't follow up at all when that's proven to be bogus. Rip T ran out of space. Hyper-focus on the issue is an attempt to distract from the litany of the bullshit and potentially traitorous things Trump and his family is involved with. What? Okay, Rip. I'm gonna try not to rip on you too hard. What the fuck are you talking about? What does the litany of bullshit and potentially traitorous things Trump and his family is involved? See, people like you are one of the big problems in America. You're saying because you think Orange Man bad, that it's cool to ignore the fact that you might be electing somebody who's as much or even more so tainted and filthy than he is. It's all right there in front of you. And the conversation is about the media and why they are not covering it. So hyper-focus on the issue is an attempt to distract. So now the fact that Hunter Biden may very well have been selling access to his father, and there is a real trail of potential evidence. It's all got to be verified, but there's a real trail of potential evidence saying that his father may be enjoying the fruits of those connections, and that's just a distraction? It's not a standalone news story. Get the fuck out of here. Oh my God, this Orange Man bad disease is just, holy shit. It eats your brain away. It really does. Jesus Christ. That's one of the dumbest fucking things I've heard on a live stream so far. It really is. Unbelievable. Who was running for president in 2020? I thought we had a queen ruling America. Who are we talking about, Lambo fan? Susan? she's just running our little portion of America. Even though I'm considered one of my favorite political memes is Orange Man Pat. Yeah, it's almost become a disease, Ree. And as you guys know, voting for Trump or not, because we talk about it all the time, I have no problem with discussing or bringing to the forefront his many, many foibles. But this is specifically about a news media, and to me, this is alarming. Again, maybe it's because of my connection to journalism, but about a news media who has taken sides politically to the point where they have no desire to be considered legitimate news agencies anymore. It's just everything. If it doesn't meet their end, if it doesn't further their agenda, they just simply will ignore it, put their head in the sand and say it didn't happen. Christian Capitalist says, think about that governor who was exposed wearing blackface was burnt after he admitted to killing born babies. You're talking about Ralphie Northam, Capitalist? I don't recall the admitting to killing born babies. I don't recall that part. I mean, I know the blackface and the KKK robe, and he wouldn't say which one of them was him, either, although there's not a winning situation in there. But I don't know what you're talking about outside of that. PLF says both of them suck. We need a different system. Two-party shit doesn't fucking work anymore. Yeah, I agree with some of that. I think too, PLF, I think both sides, Republicans and Democrats, had much, much, much better candidates to run. I think there are much better people on both sides. We didn't get the best. I mean, on the Republicans, I would much rather see somebody like Nikki Haley running. On the Democratic side, and even though I'm currently leaning right, I would much rather see somebody like Pete Buttigieg running. But yeah, we're not getting the best and brightest. But you can't get a third party because if you think about it, PLF, this is a perfect example of it, this election. Anybody that talks about voting third party, look at what happens to them. They get put down, they get mocked. They say, well, if you vote, because most of the third parties would tend to siphon votes away from the Democrats, they get told, well, you're just voting for Trump if you vote third party. What they don't understand is if you never allow people to vote for those third parties, they never get past that 5% stare, and they never get taken seriously. They never get on the debate stages. They never get any momentum. They never get any of the perks that comes with being a recognized party. So it's never going to happen because the existing parties will always shout them down. Because you can't vote for third party. You're throwing it away. Off topic, but R.I.P. Len Rossi. Dragon says, I don't know who Len Rossi is. Dragon, I'm not sure who that is. Yeah, like I said, I didn't hear about his death, or unfortunately, I don't know who that is. Willie says Trump isn't clean. True, I'm a Trump supporter, and I can admit that absolutely. But people like Hillary and Joe and Hunter are actual fucking traitors and are getting away with it. Well, and the thing of it is, where I stand on it right now, Willie, is I won't go so far as to say that because I don't know. There's no concrete proof how connected to all this Joe was. There's a lot of incriminating evidence, though, a lot of it. When you already have people coming out who were and are known to be, factually, were associates of the Bidens and of Hunter Biden specifically, and he's coming out and he's saying, yeah, those emails are real. That's concerning. That's a really big fucking deal. And we have mainstream media that's ignoring it because getting their candidate elected, which you would hope the media doesn't have a candidate, but they obviously do, is more important than reporting the news. Hold on a second. What's going on here? Is this thing fucking up again? Hold on. I see we're not... I don't know how many of you use it, but I see we don't have the chat going on the side here again. Let me see if I can get it working. There's a... Come on, chat box. Oh, it won't let me do anything with it. I don't know what's going on with the goddamn chat box now. Sorry about that, guys. This I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay with OBS if it's going to keep having problems like that. That one's not on Susan. That one's on OBS itself. Okay, let me catch back up. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure I didn't. R.I.P. Len Rossi. I did see that. Okay, I want to make sure I didn't miss it. PLF says, I'm a third-party voter and I hate the system. I'm a libertarian and I'm always stuck picking between two dumb shit clowns like I am now. Oh, there we go. Now we got it back. Yeah, and that's the thing, PLF. That's what they do. That's what they do to people like you who do want to vote for a third-party candidate. They try and browbeat you into not doing it, and they don't care that you will never get your third-party candidates into being legitimate contenders unless you're allowed at some point to vote for them in a presidential election. Let's see. Am I a Democrat or Republican? I'm an independent, always have been. I won't align. I have too many of my personal beliefs. I have too many that would be hated by the right and too many that would be hated by the left. I don't have a home. Ominous thoughts on Bernie Sanders. Don't like him. Simply because the basic bottom line for my way of thinking is anytime people believe it's in their best interest to give more money to the government and then allow the government to determine how to redistribute it, it's really, really a extremely bad idea. And of course, that is the basis of Bernie's beliefs. So no, I don't like him. Just the Fan says, I'm centrist, so I'm not into either of them, but Biden really repulsed me with his behavior. Plus, we get Trump, we'll get 4 more years of memes. Well, that I'll give you, Just the Fan. I think most people will agree 4 more years of Trump would result in more quality memes. Or has the potential to. I'm sure Biden will be responsible for plenty of them. Look at the Biden and Obama meme. The two of them sitting together where Obama's explaining things to Joe in every meme. So he's somewhat meme worthy, but yeah, Trump's got to be the king there. Christian says, Trump anxiety disorder has been officially diagnosed. No joke. TDS was real after all. Also, this is my first ever super chat on YouTube. Oh, well, welcome to the fold, Christian. It's frightening. It's like what we just saw here. We just saw here earlier. People, you talk about something like this, like the media throwing themselves into the ditch, into the gutter, saying, okay, we're no longer actually reporting news. We're just an arm of a political candidate trying to get him elected. And rather than that disturbing anybody, you've got so many people out there that go, what about Trump? Well, what about Trump? Yeah, there's a lot wrong with Trump. There's a lot that's shady about the Trump family. It all gets reported constantly. So why are we not reporting things on the other side as well? But people don't see that. They are so blinded by hatred that they just say mindlessly moronic things. Otherwise, semi-intelligent people saying them. That's just what we're talking about. Money on My Mind. Thoughts on the Hunter Biden laptop conspiracy. And we're talking specifically about the fact that the mainstream media is not covering it. And it's become, again, when the Post first posted it, it piqued my interest. Like, wow, this could be big. And plus what we knew about Hunter with Burisma and everything was a little sketchy anyway. But now when you've got people who were involved, and this is not, again, the typical, like all the news agencies like to use now, this is not anonymous sources. This is not unnamed sources. You have the people directly involved coming out and saying, yeah, that's, that happened. That email was sent. I received that email. Or this was said. That was said. That's a problem. How can you possibly not cover that? I just, again, it's just, wow. Rip, Rip, you're just unable to stay on topic at all. Adversarial and focus on our differences rather than our common problems. Now we're going to get we got to get together and sing Kumbaya. There are hundreds of bills waiting on McConnell's desk, first of which is campaign finance. That is what will change politics in this country. And it will change it to a degree, and it has absolutely nothing fucking whatsoever to do with what we're talking about here today. Hey, Felipe, good to see you, pal. Hey, thank you for now, for those of you who don't know, there's a long history of consternation and war about what we call the color of the $50 super chats. Now I lost the word again, guys. It's one of those words that won't stick with me. Magenta. For ages it was magenta, then they changed the shade a little, and we had to have another big war about what it was called now. Now everybody decided on pussy pink. Because if there's a goosh term, or if there's a term more goosh-like than pussy pink, I don't know what it is. But thank you for the pussy pink sky. A bunch of news were being covered up. Oh, Felipe, it's crazy. I just don't understand that. How can you ignore that? And again, that hits home to me because I'm not somebody who takes any pleasure in attacking the media. I'm absolutely fucking disgusted with what the media has allowed itself to become. That mainstream media outlets like CNN and the New York Times are perfectly happy being a campaign arm of a political party. And that's just, yes, pussy pink, money on my mind. That it just, it makes me want to puke. Mr. Pooper says, I'm voting for Kanye. He is literally the only good candidate for anything. It's not pussy pink, it's fuchsia. Christian says, no. Christian, for any of you guys who weren't here, the fights over what that $50 donation is supposed to be called, have been legendary, especially the first time around. We lost a lot of good people that day. You know, unfortunately, around here at the Goose, when you get killed, you come back because it's not permanent. But we did lose a lot of good people that day. Ravenwolf says, "What do you think about the ACB nomination? The Dems refusing to even show up for the vote? It's just, it's political posturing. And in fairness, if the situation were reversed, Republicans would have done the same thing. The fact is, they're not going to stop it. They're not going to stop her from being seated on the Supreme Court. And then if the Democrats should win control, then they have to decide whether or not they want to try and pack the courts. I don't think they'll be able to, because there are too many centrist Democrats that realize that even though it would be 2 years minimally from their next election, I think they feel like it would doom them in an election to do that. So I don't think it would happen, but they're not going to stop her from being installed into the Supreme Court. Reed says this and the last presidential election showed that Democratic presidential nominees suck at technology. You know, it's interesting, Reed, you saying that. When we were watching the Democratic primary process, it's really weird because you're not wrong. But if you look, the most tech-savvy seeming candidates were among the first that went out. And you can see that a lot in those who command a lot of attention, say, on Twitter. Now, you had guys like Pete Buttigieg. Sanders had a big Twitter presence, so he lasted longer. But most of the candidates that were really tech-savvy went out early, which struck me as odd. It really did. I mean, I'm not blaming them for it. It's not their fault. It was just, I think the Biden name was too much to overcome. But it was really weird to me that you saw all the ones that were most heavily covered in social media were the ones that were bouncing out first. Temple of the God says, Curtis, have you watched the Young Turks? I think you like their take on both parties of the media. They call it, they say, I am not a fan of the Young Turks, actually, Temple. No, I don't watch any extremists on either side, and to me, the Young Turks are clearly extremists. I mean, they just, you can tell where their loyalties lie by, did you watch their election or see clips of their election night coverage from 2016? Yeah. They were borderline suicidal. No, but in fairness, I don't watch anybody that I feel is over the top one way or the other. Everybody's got a lean, but I'm not. It's why I don't watch Alex Jones either. Jonathan says, what made you start this topic of discussion? It's great to hear a prominent YouTuber have open dialogue about the corruption of the media with facts. Oh, I love discussing this stuff, Jonathan. We don't discuss politics as much because, as you can see, we actually have a core group here that really enjoys political conversation. And I can say with great pride, we have a lot of really bright people in here. We really do. Whether I agree with their take or not, we've got a lot of people who are really in the know how to take in information and reach great conclusions, even if they're differ from my own. But we also have a good hunk of people that just don't like politics. I can understand that, especially in the world we live in nowadays, with it being so, everything is so hyper political and everything is so adversarial. So I don't do it a lot, but I love good conversations. Garrett says, hey, sup, been a couple months since I was last in, Papa Kurt, and lots have changed. My 2-bit seeing how I took my eyes off the news for like 3 days. Whole situation is fucked 7 ways to Sunday. Garrett, shit. And what Garrett says is so true. Things happen so fast nowadays politically. Like he says, you can't blink. You can't. Hey, what was that? You want to get somebody completely off the track of what's going on politically, just go, hey, look over there. Because, man, by the time they look back, like you say, everything is fucked 7 ways to Sunday. It's stunning. It is absolutely amazing the rate at which craziness takes place. Ty says, I have been busy at work all week, so I haven't heard about the laptop. What happened? Well, let me capsulize, Ty. There's been a lot. But basically, Hunter Biden's, apparently, his laptop surfaced at a repair shop in, Delaware, right, guys? And on it is a lot of very incriminating emails that put Hunter Biden with foreign agents, that really demonstrate that Hunter Biden was peddling his father's influence as vice
Oh,
president. Is
yeah.
some information in there that has led a lot of people to believe that Joe Biden was getting a percentage of the money that Hunter Biden was taking in by facilitating these meetings.
Oh,
And now, over the last day or
yeah.
two, a couple of the people involved have come out, not anonymously, but come out with their names saying, yes, this did take place. So, my concern is why I started this stream today is because the mainstream media is refusing to cover this. And that just boggles my mind. I mean, it's not that we didn't know it was the case, but the mainstream media has now basically said they're washing their hands to any semblance of having any type of journalistic integrity. They're just saying this is all about getting my candidate elected and fuck everything else. So that's basically where we are. BTG says Queen Elizabeth II for president. um, uh, Rage Viral says, I love that you're talking about this. Love now. I got to go back to bed. The flu is a bit. Oh, sorry to hear you got the flu. Oh, I hate the fucking flu. Well, thank you for popping in while you could, Rage. Yeah,
Oh,
and I'm one of the
yeah.
people that we know that the flu shot doesn't work on a large percentage of people, and unfortunately, I'm one of them. I don't even get it anymore because the years I got it, I would get a flu just as bad or worse than I'd ever gotten before, and I hate the flu. I just hate being sick. You guys know me. I mean, I'm usually hype and up all the time, and I hate anything that takes that away from you. You called me bright, bro. It's just money in my mind says, I am. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the conversations that we have here. I think they stay largely, as much as could be expected. I think they stay largely respectful and I've learned a lot from our streams. I've looked at, even if something didn't change my mind, I couldn't tell you the number of times I've gotten a new perspective just by having these types of streams. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I hate both our candidates. Noble says, "Oh, you're not alone." And to be perfectly honest, if we're talking just as people, okay, if we're not talking about policy, as far as people, I like Joe Biden better than I like Donald Trump. I'm voting for Donald Trump based on policy because that's to me what you vote. That's why you cast your vote for a president is on policy. As far as people, I like Joe Biden better, but both of them are hugely flawed candidates, and both parties have
Oh,
much better waiting in the wings. It's
yeah.
unfortunate that this is the choice we have. No, I don't think you're alone at all, Nova. Poor Delaware Air Day Toker says, "Yeah, really. Yeah. It sucks when you get a lot of notoriety for something you don't want to be noticed for." James says his stuff on his laptop will disappear like Clinton's emails did. Well, that's the thing that a lot of people were surprised didn't happen prior to this. But I guess that the copy of the contents were sent to Giuliani early on, right? And the FBI apparently has the actual laptop. I believe that's my understanding of it. Now we're getting reports too that laptop,
Oh,
they hadn't said anything about it because that
yeah.
laptop is actually part of an already existing investigation. That I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just something that's been rumored. We'll find out about that. Okay. Son Goku, you are the ultimate warrior. Shit. I just gotta I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody, guys, before I go to Deuce. Yes, okay. Wholesome Deuce G Tracker says, screw them both. Dem specifically. My family bought a house in Pennsylvania, and we're happy that we left New York City. Oh, he should be happy he left, in New York State in general, Deuce. Dirty, unstable, expensive, and dangerous. Yes, New York City is all those things, especially
Oh,
now. And all of New York State,
yeah.
you guys know I live in New York State. If you're thinking of moving here, I just got one word of advice for you: don't. We are taxed just beyond belief. It is one of the more restrictive, red tape filled states in the nation. I can give you a good example. When wrestling, you guys know I wrestled for years. When wrestling first came out, and basically it was Vince McMahon that led the way, saying that wrestling is a show, it's entertainment, it is not competition. Well, throughout the nation, wrestling shows no longer were under the purview of the state's athletic commissions because they were shows, not sporting events. And so most all the states said, oh, okay, well, now you'll be classified as entertainment. You'll abide by those guidelines. New York held on for years after everybody else had dropped it, keeping us under the auspices of the state athletic commission, because they could charge you for that. They would charge you $1,500 fucking dollars to put on a show in New York, right off the top. Whether you were Vince McMahon with 25,000 people, or you were just some little struggling company trying to put on a small time show in, some buttfuck little hillbilly town in upstate New York, you had to pay that $1,500. And they did not want to let go of that cash. And it took us years and years and years of coming after, trying to get state politicians on our side, legislators on our side, to finally get that taken away. But New York did not want to lose that money that they were basically, ripping off from people. Garrett says, genuine opinion. When I see Senile and Orange, I have the same reaction. They're old, rich, corrupt, and at this point, it's run me ragged, too ragged. I think all of us, Garrett, by the time this election is over, we're all going to have been just run completely ragged. BTG says, I'm voting for Trump because when both suck, go for whichever favors I, an Englishman. I'll have to talk to my Russian friends to vote, of course. Well, like I say, I'm voting for Trump based strictly on policy. As far as personality, or as far as who they are as people, I've never liked Donald Trump. I've always thought he was a dick. Always thought he was an asshole. That didn't change when he became president. But again, it's just based on policy that I'm voting for him. And that's what a lot of people believe, Q-Tip. Again, no way to know that's true, but Q-Tip says probably no investigation going on in the FBI, probably actively hiding the information before it got out. The FBI is run by corrupt partisans. That's what a lot of people are certainly believing or concerned about. Again, we have no way to know that for sure, but that's what a lot of people are concerned about. Jack Queen says, what are they saying is on this laptop? Because I've heard varying things from across the pond. Basically, the worst part about it is the emails, Jack. There are emails in there that outline in great detail how Hunter Biden was using his father's office to gain favor. And he was getting paid a lot of money, basically, to set up meetings for foreign interests with his dad. Now, there are also emails on there that refer to the big guy. We have people who have come forward who were involved in all of it saying that the big guy refers to Joe Biden. And what they said was Joe Biden, the big guy, was getting a cut of the action. So it has the potential to be something really, really significantly bad. Felipe says, yeah, don't move to New York. I live here, and at first, yay, then 5 seconds later, you just want to punch everyone who talks to you. Yeah, I'm with you, Felipe. The only reason I still live in New York, the one and only reason, is my grandkids are here. I would not be here otherwise. This state is terrible. Are you in the city, Felipe? Because I enjoy going down to New York City, but I get to enjoy it because I get to leave. I would never want to live there. I enjoy going down there because there's a lot to do and there's a lot to see. But yeah, I would never want to live in the city. But I know how you feel. Bros United says, when the free press and the political party are in bed with each other, corruption is allowed to reign freely unchecked. I completely agree. Akin to a government having complete control over the media outlets like China. And that, I completely agree with you, bros. That's why I'm so, this really distresses me. Because again, at the very least, the mainstream media outlets, you have to report on this. The fact that they are refusing at this point to even acknowledge this is going on is actually frightening to me, for exactly the reasons that Bros United outlined here, because that is very, very similar to what China has going on. You've got basically the mainstream media outlets are saying, well, if this hurts my candidate, it didn't happen. We're just going to put our fingers in our ears and go la 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 and pretend that there's no reason to cover it. Whether it all turns out to be true or not doesn't matter. Right now, there is plenty of evidence to make it legitimate. And you had this is the man leading the polls running for president of the United States, and you're refusing to cover it. As far as I'm concerned, CNN, New York Post, MSNBC, they're all none of them are news outlets. They're all garbage. They should not. I believe they shouldn't even exist. But at the very least, no matter what, and no matter how many years down the road we go, nothing they put out should ever be consumed again. I believe. Noble says, what I find horrible is that people only care about Kamala. Like we know Biden will most likely be a one-termer, but Kamala has done a lot of stuff. Noble, don't you guys kind of wonder though, too, with all this coming up, that the overall, that may, and this is just me spitballing, but maybe the overall take from the Democrats is, listen, just get them elected. If you get them elected, and then this turns out to all be true, impeach him. And then we've got what we wanted all along, which is Kamala as president. I do believe that's a lot of why Pelosi started the whole 25th Amendment thing. I don't think that was for Trump.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's so they have the groundwork, because everybody knows that Joe is slipping a little, that they can oust Biden should he get in and put Kamala in. So I think the Democrats right now are just saying, get us across the finish line. Just let's just win this election. And then it doesn't matter how dirty he is, because Kamala is clear. She's not involved. She's not involved in this in any way. So she's clean. So just get him across the finish line and we'll bail on him. We'll say, yeah, fuck yeah. The guy did wrong. Let's impeach him, and they'll have what they wanted anyway. Would you guys agree? That seems like would be their strategy at this point. It's not even a bad strategy if your goal is to get Kamala Harris as president. Garrett says, for me, someone not even in the 20s, so many rich old dinos make policy that affect my future suck. Dino men will be around 10 years. I don't disagree with you there, Garrett. I don't disagree with you at all. No, it's unfortunate. I think a lot of people from your generation have what I believe, just my personal belief. I think they have beliefs that are not going to serve them well. I think anytime you allow the government to become a nanny state, it's not going to work out well for you. But you're right. It is all old people making your decisions for you. Wolverine says, I'm at your front door. Please open it. No, yeah, I would have heard the dogs going nuts by now, Wolverine. They're never subtle. Don't vote for the white supremacists is pretty simple. What are we talking about there now, Eric? Oh, jeez. Are we... Is this going to be another rant of Orange Man bad, or are we going to come with some real facts and genuine opinions, or just stuff that somebody told you to say on the internet? BTG says, at least the proper York used to have a cool name. Jorvik. America is full of knockoff Englishness like football. Real men don't wear armor. Wait a second, though. Oh, I'm not sure about this. You guys have to check that for me. Somebody here will know. Guarantee. Is Philip in here? Oh, Philip's right there. He says... Philip, you'll know this. Who came up with calling soccer football? Was that Americans, or was that the Brits, or somebody in the UK? I thought I read somewhere that, and I don't know how, it came up, it was always called football, of course, but it was also called soccer as well by certain groups? Is that true? I might be wrong on that. But Philip will know. Guarantee you Philip knows. Next post, please. Was going to do a $5 gift. Oh, you got censored, Willie? Yeah. Isn't that genius? That's the genius of YouTube right there. Let me see if I can find Willie's post. Censor the super chats. Thanks, Susan. Let's see. I don't see it yet. Willie's. Oh, there it is. I pray that the guy who leaked the Hunter Biden laptop shit is but in a bunker with a fucking military escort. If not, he'll get Epstein. Yeah, no shit. Well, that's what a lot of people were concerned about. The computer guy who got the computer initially. That was a lot of the talk online was, are people making sure that this guy is okay and he's protected? But really, I mean, yeah, well, to extremists, no. I was gonna say, to even an extremist, you got to see this guy was not ill-intended. It just, that's it. You got to turn that over to the authorities. I mean, how can you not? Let's see. I'm just seeing if anybody... It'd be the Brits. Okay, Philip did say that. I think so. No, I thought... Because I always thought it was an American thing, too. That's the only reason it struck with me. I always thought we called it soccer because we have our version of football. But then somewhere I read or somebody told me that actually calling soccer football was not an Americanism. And trust me, Philip knows his facts. He says it'd be the Brits. That really surprises me. Oh, there it is. And Cutie says same thing. The British high class started using soccer. Is that who it was? I knew it was some group within, within the English people. I didn't know who. Okay. Because the only reason that stuck with me is it shocked me. I had always just figured that was an Americanism. Wholesome Dude says, Joe, we'll raise taxes on the rich. The people, yes. The rich, bro, hold up. Joe, don't worry. Loopholes. Pretty much. Well, the problem is, Tracker, and again, this is why, the largest reason why I'm voting for Trump. I've told you guys. My concern is not, I'm almost 60. Any changes that take place are going to take time anyway. They're not really going to have much of an effect on me. I worry about my kids and my grandkids. And to me, the most egregious thing you can do to harming their future is setting up any system where you give the government more of your money. And so I am not for higher taxes in any way, shape, or form. I am for free market solutions to everything that is possible to, or is reasonably feasible to do in the free market. So anybody that says, okay, hey, we're just going to raise taxes on whoever so we can have more money and we'll decide who gets it and how to dole it out. Nah, nope. That's why I'm leaning right now, because I've always been down the middle. But there's with this whole Green New Deal horse shit and all that, no. There's too many people out there that want too many things for free. And of course, there is no such thing as free, which just means, okay, everybody just give lots of your money to the government. They'll be fine. They'll figure out how to distribute it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, okay. Slow Bro says what he's doing is shameful, and on top of that, claiming to be a successful businessman. Again, you guys. So I think you're factually incorrect. Oh, you're talking to someone else. I was gonna say I'm in the middle of that. I don't know who you're talking about, what you're talking about. Cutie says you were all talking about how New York sucks earlier, but I live in Cali, and Cali is like bad governance. Oh yeah, I'm with you, Cutie Rose. I have a little bit of knowledge. I lived in California for years, up in Central California, Vacaville, right between Sacramento and San Francisco. Yes. In all fairness, you're right. And I throw that in a lot when I talk about how I don't want to live in New York, and the only place that would be as bad to me. Two places. The only two places I can think of that could be as bad because of the taxes and everything that I outlined would be California or Massachusetts. Yes, you're 100% right, Cutie Rosa. Yes, California is awful for much of the exact same reasons that New York is awful. Money Moore says, can we get Obama back? See, Obama and I disagreed with Obama on a lot of issues. But I like Barack Obama as a person probably more than I've liked any other president. I wouldn't be rooting for him to come back. I have to admit, though, if it was Obama versus Trump, I would have had to do a lot more. I would probably still vote for Trump because I'm still fear too much the influence the extreme left is having on the Democratic Party. But it would have been certainly more difficult. It's an easy call with Trump versus Biden. Well, and really Trump versus Kamala, because I don't think Biden's going to last. Oh, excuse me. Trevor says, and Biden's tax plans are garbage, and there is also would be no incentive to be successful in a job with Biden's tax plan in place. Well, that's what I worry about, Trevor. That is my basic issue with just what I outlined. When you get to that point of socialism, where you're giving large portions of your paycheck to the government, what it does is it just greatly inhibits the idea or the potential for exceptionalism. And I am against that. I think everybody, now I do believe there are things we can do better as a country to make sure that nobody should be guaranteed an outcome, but everybody should have equal opportunity. And there are some things we can do to try and make sure that playing field of opportunity is leveled. Again, I don't believe in guaranteeing an outcome for anyone. But as long as everybody has an equal chance to be exceptional, and everybody that wants to be exceptional realizes it's probably going to take a lot of work, and you're going to have to grind, and you're going to have to get out there, and it's going to have to be every element of your life to become successful, but you're willing to do it. I want everybody to be successful. And when you give too much of your money to government, that takes that opportunity away. BTG says, what is this middle? Sounds rarer than the G spot. It certainly seems to be anymore, doesn't it, BTG? I don't think we're all as rare as it appears. I just think that because all the voices that we hear every day are extremist voices, though on both sides. The extremist voices are the ones that are the loudest. Star Phoenix says Obama's got into more wars, drone bomb lots of people, might still be the record holder, persecuted whistleblower, screwed around a lot of foreign policy. Yeah, but Obama had his. Obama definitely had his warts as well. There's no question. Yeah, he did drone bomb lots of people. Now I'm going to be fair. In a lot of those situations of which I know, I supported him for doing it. I don't think he wasn't drone bombing innocents. He was looking out for our interests. So, I mean, again, people try to paint a different picture of him than what is actuality. You're right. He drone bombed more than anyone has. And I don't even say that necessarily disparagingly. He did what he needed to do. He also deported more people than any president prior, if I'm not mistaken. Jesus Christ. BTG says, fun fact, YouTube wouldn't let me send the word Chinese in a super chat. Isn't that topical? Susan's just off the, completely off the deep end. You guys know that. It's just got, and again, they censor the super chats more than the regular chats, and figure out that. Well, again, because somebody whined that people were being mean to them in a super chat. Jesus Christ. Star Phoenix says, those cages I think might have been around since W. Bush. Yeah, I believe so, Star Phoenix. I know they were here at least through the Obama administration. Yeah, and some of them, yes, that might have been put in place even that far back. I'm a moderate that leans left, Raven Wolf says, but I would be afraid to have a liberal majority at the moment. Well, that's why, exactly why Raven Wolf, why I lean right. Because again, I have been, and again, I've listed it for you guys many times. I can list you all the different things that each side would find attractive and each side would find just horrible about my belief system. So that puts me in the middle. But that's why I lean right, is because the extreme left has too much influence on the Democratic side. In fairness, 15, 20 years ago, when the Tea Party was a major movement, I was leaning more left because then the right was falling into the hands of the extremists. I don't like extremism. Oh, excuse me, guys. Because it makes me laugh when people accuse me of that because I'm going to vote for Trump. And, well, you're just you're just another one of those conservative Christian blah blah blah. Yeah, and I'm an atheist, which immediately, again, I talk about all the things. You know the right doesn't want to have much of anything to do with me just based on that alone. But it goes back and forth. I'm also pro-choice, doesn't sit well with the right. But I'm also anti-big government, doesn't sit well with the left. I'm also very much about personal responsibility overall. That doesn't sit well with the left. So again, there's just too many things for me to be anything but in the middle. BTG says, there's this one candidate had a great speech about revitalizing the country and bringing prosperity back. I think his name was Adolf something. Well, that's what a lot of people tend to forget, that, BTG, how popular Hitler was. Okay. Philip says, here in Canada, we're currently dealing with the problem of dependence on the government. Small entrepreneurs are suffering, millions are unemployed, economy is down the toilet, and the debt is mounting. Yeah, Philip, and again, Philip has just outlined a lot of what I believe is the always eventuality of too much government intervention, or at least of too big a percentage of your paycheck going to the government. There is no government I know of that does an admirable job of redistributing money. it's just never going to work out. To me, you're always better off if you can have free market solutions, free market options with government regulation, because in the free market you'll get taken advantage of as well. So to me, the government should just be there to watch and make sure everybody plays fair. They should not be the ones taking the money and redistributing it. And BTG's our stream boss. Yeah, that's from last I heard too, Philip, Trudeau is wildly unpopular up there. Is that still the case? It was a while ago I was reading that. Let's see. Trump is not just against Dems and corrupt media. He's also against big tech, China, Iran, and Russia. He's literally against the world. This will be a very sweet victory if he pulls this off. Yeah, like I say, also Trump's got a lot of things about him that I don't particularly care for. In general, as far as his overall stances, as far as his policies, it's not close for me this time around who I'm going to vote for. I had when Romney ran against Obama, I had not made up my mind who I was going to vote for until I was actually in the booth about to pull the lever. That's how close that one was. It's not the case this time. That time I ended up going for Romney, but I didn't really mind, obviously, because I couldn't make up my mind that Obama won. And the only reason I went for Romney was because there's a lot I don't like about Mitt Romney, but he is a financial whiz. And I just thought that was something the country could really use at the time. That was the one and only determining factor that tipped it. But yes, I won't have any hesitation in who I'm pulling the, not that it matters in New York, but who I'm pulling the lever for this time. Star Phoenix says the right, I think, has been morphing as of late. Trump dragged them into acceptance of LGBT, and I think he's growing the base of them. I don't know that Trump, I hope that the right is more welcoming of LGBTQ. I don't know that Trump really had anything to do with it. But I do think as far as morphing goes, I think the left is morphing more than the right, and that's cyclical too. But right now, I think the left is morphing more because of the influence of the, as I said, the extremist portion of their party. Let's see. Everyday Toker says, I didn't do very well in a round of Overwatch, and I had a kid message me and tell me I was bad and that Trump is going to win and I should be deported. Jesus Christ! Well, Toker, we do know that gamers tend to be the most sound of mind folks. They're not reactionary at all. They never go off the deep end. Star Phoenix says, Trudeau, I hear, doesn't have nearly as much power as he did, considering his party lost a lot of power in the more recent election. I did hear something about that. I did read about that. He's still prime minister, though. Right. I had read, and again, it's hard. You guys know how useless our media is here. That's what the whole thing is about. So we get very little information outside of Orange Man Bad. So you don't get a lot of international stuff unless it can reflect poorly on Trump somehow. But I remember hearing that at that time, and this was probably 2-3 months ago. I get that Trudeau was polling the worst he's ever polled up there. Kyle says, I've noticed some people around my age, 25, want to give the government power over what they can do. You're right, that scares me. I think it's because they never grew up and are looking for mommy and dad to take care of them. I don't think you're wrong, Kyle. It's scary. And I don't think they see the potential for that to go just horrifically wrong. You're right. I mean, well, you hear it all the time. It's like, well, I want free healthcare and I want free college and I can't pay my student loans back, so I want you to pay them for me. Well, okay. First of all, nothing is free. What you're asking for is the other taxpayers to pay for your stuff for you. That's what you're asking people to do. But beyond that, the one that gets me the most is the ones that are looking for debt forgiveness on their college loans. How many students do you know? Because Braxton was told this. I said I'd be more than happy to help him pay for his college as long as he makes a smart buying decision about his degree. Buying your college education is no different than buying a car or a house or anything else. You need to shop around and you need to be smart. and Braxton was. But if you decided you wanted to go to an upper end
Oh,
school and it was costing you 50
yeah.
grand a semester and you wanted to get a social work degree, you have no right to complain about being too deep in debt because you're fucking stupid. Because you could look out
Oh,
and see that in the field of
yeah.
social work, an average salary is about what, 35,000 a year, and you're going to pay a ridiculous amount for your education. So you could say you went to this cool school, and now you want somebody else to pay for the fact that you were dumb. That's the part that bothers me about that. If people didn't shop for their college education, they're just not very smart. Hashtag porn girls for president. Now BTG. Now we're talking about a a set of platitude that we can all get behind. Get
Oh,
it? Get behind.
yeah.
Oh, Philip, here we go. Trudeau is actually in hot water over a scandal over a children's charity. I didn't even hear this. He's been disrupting investigations, suspended parliament. The opposition threatened to push for an election, which he only stopped with support of other left-leaning parties. Really? Really, Philip? See, I missed a lot of that. I knew he was. I knew his popularity was diminishing, and I knew he'd been in hot water. I didn't realize it was this bad. Yikes! I'm never a fan of Trudeau, so the little bit I do know about him, I never really liked the guy. So I can't say that I'm sad to hear any of that. And by the way, thank you for the pussy pink sky, Philip. We can never forget to say that. um, Christian says, can we please stop calling leftists liberal? The modern left is authoritarian. The founding fathers were liberal. This is so freaking annoying to me. Well, a lot of it's semantics, Christian. I understand what you're getting at. It's but it all depends on the semantics you put in place. And under the current structure, I think classic liberal is certainly different than leftist. But typically, if I say leftist, I'm talking about leftists. I'm talking about your extremists. Liberals are in not wholly, but in large part, definitely different. But again, that gets splitting hairs with semantics there. The founding fathers were somewhat liberal, but you have to remember liberalism meant something entirely different back in that time. Speaking of college, Willie says, I applied for the best film school in the state because I have always wanted to be a director. We'll see if I get accepted. Oh, that would be... Keep us posted, Willie. I'd like to know. You guys know that's where I first started my interest in the entertainment field, was screenwriting. Is it no good? Says, I mean, the Trump can't even sit to an interview without having a meltdown. What is that? Well, again, that's making a generality that isn't true. Has he had meltdowns? Yes. Has he sat through entire interviews? Yes. So again, you're making too much of a generality, but what the fuck does that have to do with the media ignoring the Biden stories? I'm not sure. Unless you respond to somebody else that I didn't see. Star Phoenix says, I think the student loans probably should be reviewed. The result is locking people into debt slavery, not total forgiveness, but I think something could be done with the interest rate. Oh, I'm not against looking into it, Star Phoenix. Absolutely not. Because, see, the whole thing that started that was well-intentioned. When the government set out to make student loans easier to access and make it so pretty much everybody could get them, that was well-intentioned. Nobody took into account that what would happen was when that money was easy to get, that all the universities would just jack the prices up out of sight because they knew people had access to the money, and that's exactly what happened. So do I think there could be something done for that? Absolutely. I think it could be looked into, and I think a lot of people have taken some serious, egregious advantages of the system. But what I'm talking about are people that make horrible buying decisions with their college and then get on and whine and bitch and moan that they want somebody to come in and pay it for them. That's what I'm talking about specifically. No, I do think it could be addressed. And to be perfectly honest with you, when you talk about student debt loan forgiveness, I am directly involved because I'm paying the majority of Braxton's college because I don't want him getting out of school with a lot of debt. So most all of the solutions I've seen floated from the left about debt forgiveness with college would involve me and would probably wipe out the money that I owe to his school. And given that, I'm still not for them. So it's not like I'm saying that because I'm detached, it would affect me directly. but I just don't believe in going out and just eradicating debt. I think it's completely fair to say Trump can't make it through an interview. Trudeau wasn't on topic. Trudeau was on topic because I brought it up. It was an offshoot of something else. But, okay, you can say Trump can't make it through an interview, but it's completely fair to say that. So what you're saying, Jack, if you're saying it's completely fair to say Trump can't make it through an interview, means Trump has never sat through an interview without melting down. And it's just simply not true. That's just not the case. Because people like hyperbole and they like generalities, and that's my point. And if we're going to talk about melting down, again, if you're saying, okay, well, you should vote for Biden because Trump melts down, Biden's known for his meltdowns. He had a mini meltdown the other day just because somebody asked him if he wanted to comment on the Post story. But again, it's a huge generality. Let's see. As Curtis said, isn't it fair to say since Trump has many, right? I mean, if you're going to say, hey, Trump's had meltdowns, okay, nobody can deny that he has. When you say that Trump can't sit through an interview without having a meltdown, that's just simply not true and not backed up by facts. Star Phoenix says, I think it's partly because of the subsidies that universities got so bloated in cost. Less about the education, more about the campus living community. Yeah, absolutely, Star Phoenix, it is. And again, that was in fairness to the government and the people that put it in place. That was well-intentioned. You know, it was an attempt to just try and make college more accessible to people. I don't think much of anybody saw the fallout coming that came about. Well, Biden has... Son of Thor says Biden openly avoids questions. To be fair, up to this point, it has been to Biden's advantage to, quote-unquote, hide in his basement. He's got a lead in the polls. Trump constantly is shooting himself in the foot. It's not a bad strategy. And we all know that Biden's strong point is not getting out there in live interviews. That's when he runs into problems. You know, he loses his train of thought. He says things that he shouldn't have said. So that wasn't a bad strategy. I just think in these final 2 weeks now, especially with this whole thing with his son, I don't think he's going to be able to do that anymore. Didn't Biden just recently cuss at a worker because he was asking about his policies with the Second Amendment? He did, AIT, and he challenged somebody to a fight too, one of the workers to a fight, to a fist fight. So like I say, if you're drawing it as a comparison of the candidates, if you're saying vote Biden because Trump melts down, it's like that's probably not a comparison you want to draw. Jake says, what I don't understand with idiots choosing a college is how they view going to a community college for a couple of years and then finish off by going to a state university is a bad thing. I completely agree with you, Jake. And one of the few good things I can say about New York, if I'm being fair, is they have great universities here. The state universities, and Braxton's at one, they have great state universities here that are much more reasonably priced. And that's what I told Braxton from, when he got into high school, he was a sophomore, junior. I said, listen, I'll help you pay for your college if you make an intelligent choice. You decide what field you want to go into. You find a college a school that will give you that degree, give you that education that you need, and you shop around and make sure they can do it at a price that is reasonable to what you expect to make from the career path you've chosen. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, it's like any other buying decision you make. BTG says, of course Trump melts down. He's made from double Gloucester. Those stage lights put out a lot of heat. He literally melts down. Jack Queen says, so when I said can't make it through an interview, well, actually, Jack, you aren't the first one who said it. I was initially responding to somebody else who is the first one that said he can't make it through an interview without melting down. I mean, he doesn't shut his mouth. He really knows what he's saying or talking about. Would I say meltdown? No, but I wasn't saying you said the meltdown part. The other person says he can't make it through an interview without melting down. Rarely knows what he's saying or talking about. That's an opinion. You're welcome to that opinion. Would I say meltdown? No, but making it through any interview? No, I would disagree with you. Does he say the wrong things? Yes. Does he think he has facts sometimes that aren't genuinely facts? Yes. Is it every time? No, I've seen him make a lot of cogent points. And again, you can turn it both ways. For as much as Joe Biden's always been a gaffe machine, I don't think Joe Biden's dumb. I know he's not dumb. He's a very smart man who maybe because he is, I don't know why. I don't know what to put it on, but his whole career, if you look at it, he's had moments where he just lets his mouth get into gear before his brain does. That doesn't make him stupid. Just is what it is. I just think now there's something else going on because I see him, and having experienced several people in my life now that have had dementia, and I hope that's not the case, but he, boy, sure looks familiar with that whole, you'll be talking about a specific topic and then just it goes away and you can see him losing it. That's and I take no joy in that. Like I say, I like Joe Biden as a person.
Oh,
Filmmaker says,
yeah.
filmmaker stream boss. I chose not to vote in this election after the first debate. I use debate loosely. Yeah, it wasn't much of a debate. To me, neither candidate has earned my vote, but I hope Trump wins so our taxes don't go up. Yeah, understandable, filmmaker. I mean, everything you say there is completely understandable. Certainly, neither one of them proved or earned a vote in that debate. No, I agree with 100%. And what both of them don't realize is each of them is going to hurt themselves if they're allowed to go on for too long, talking for too long uninterrupted. Both of them are known for it. And yet both of them kept giving the other an out by interrupting them. They're so over the top trying to be aggressive that they weren't even being strategic. When Biden should have let Trump go on a diatribe, Trump should let Biden go on a diatribe. When they start talking off the cuff for long periods of time is when they both fuck up. And they both kept interrupting, so neither one of them did it. Let's see. Why does everyone think their taxes are going up if Trump loses? The only people pay more tax. Oh, well, you can believe that if you want to, Matthew, but the math doesn't bear that out. To accomplish all the things that Biden wishes to accomplish, I don't believe for 1 second you bring in the revenue necessary from raising taxes on the rich. Take that a step further. Even if your taxes don't go up, you have to understand when you raise taxes on the rich people own the companies, the rich people own the manufacturing. They're not just going to accept that extra burden. It will get passed down to you. So even if that were the case, even if you don't pay more in taxes, you are in a roundabout way because you're going to pay more out of your pocket for goods and services. That's how an economy works. The people who are providing the jobs, providing the services, if they're paying more money in taxes, they're not, whether you want them to or not, they're not just going to go, oh, well, that's fair. I'll just take the hit. They're going to say, okay,
Oh,
well, I paid this much more in taxes.
yeah.
Now the cost of this product that I make goes up 5% to absorb it. That's what happens. BTG says, if I try to quit, my mouth gets in gear before my brain, usually by at least 5 minutes. I don't get how all those documentaries like Buffy manage. Yeah, I would absolutely be lying to you guys if I told you that I never had my mouth get into gear well before my brain. That would be a total lie. I just have done so much public speaking in my life. I try to be cognizant of it. I try not to let it happen, but it still does. This is Kyle says, unpopular opinion. I love the first debate. I don't want it to be all nice and civil. We know they don't like each other. They know they don't like each other. Let them fight. I didn't care for the first debate, but I don't discount everything you said. I didn't mind them going at each other. I want, like you said, I wanted the candidates to hit each other in the soft spots. I wanted them to go after the tough topics. I just think the amount of shouting and shouting over one another just ruined both their cases. Because again, the best thing either one of these guys could do is let the other one go on and keep rambling, because that's when they're gonna get in trouble. Douglas says, Curtis, don't forget that Trump was on a debate stage with the person that violated his rights and perpetuated a 3-year-long attack on him. His aggression is understandable. You can make a case, though, too, with the things Trump has said, that Biden's aggression was understandable, too, and probably both their aggressions were understandable. It's just that the problem is when they both conduct themselves like that, they just do a disservice to each of themselves. You're out there trying to win votes, not settle scores. And I don't think either one of them really has prioritized that right. Uh, is no good. Says taxing the company is not the same as taxing the CEOs who make hundreds of millions a year while the dude on the floor makes
Oh,
maybe 30K. Okay, now that's where you fell off again. It is no good. Because if you look at the numbers, actually look at the numbers, rich people in America pay the huge part of our tax base. It's corporations that are getting away at a ridiculously low percentage of taxes paid. So if you don't go after the corporations, which Biden plans on doing, but if you don't go after the corporations, you're not going to get anything. The rich already pay the huge onus of taxes, of income taxes in America are paid by the rich. The huge, huge portion of it. Corporations, however, do not
oh,
pay the taxes at the rate that they should be. So you can tax the CEO more because you're. I know a lot of people's feelings are hurt because the CEO makes a lot of money and this
oh,
person on the floor makes 30K. Well, you took the job. You again, you didn't know what the pay was when you took the job. And if you want to be right now in America, you have that opportunity to be exceptional. Don't like it? Work your ass off and work your way up. But the fact still remains, it's corporations that have to be taxed. You can tax individuals more. The amount of money you're going to get from doing that with the tax burden they already pay is nominal. Money in my mind says, "Will you shut up, man?" Well, who shut up? Who? Me? Somebody else you were talking to? I don't know who.
oh,
If you're talking to me,
yeah.
no, no, I won't shut up. um, excuse me. Giggity Goose says, "I find celebs telling me how to vote just ignorant." Yeah, well, a lot of people. I'm with you there, Giggity Goo. Regardless of their stance, regardless which side they're on, I'm really not that interested in what a celebrity has to say. I mean, just for me, I understand that some people look up to celebrities for whatever reason, and they should use their pulpit for this or that. They believe it's like I don't give a fuck what celebrities think. Um, Filmmaker says, "I'm waiting for an election when we have two great candidates to choose from, and not this lesser of two evils every 5 seconds." Wouldn't that be nice, Filmmaker? I'm trying to remember an election that was like that. You have to really think. There's always an element of lesser of two evils to it, it seems. Yeah, I'm with you. Wouldn't that be great if you could really be, and it hasn't happened for me in a long time, where you could really be excited about the candidate that you're going to pull the lever for? Pull the lever for. Sounds dirty. Philip says, "As far as Canadian and American politics are concerned, I keep thinking of the words of Calamity Jane from HBO's Deadwood. What a goddamn circus, ain't that the that should be the tagline for Decision 2020. What a Decision 2020. What a goddamn circus." Hear that in James Earl Jones's voice.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Good Father says, "Only Bernie could beat Trump. Dems are done." I don't think he could have, Good Father. Simple for the same reason that he couldn't beat Biden. You don't have.
Oh,
I know the young people feel
yeah.
that way, but when you get outside of that bubble, socialism and again that concept that I am against, the idea of getting people to just give big hunks of their money to the government and say, "Okay, now you distribute it back to us however you see fit." I don't think it's going to fly. And again, Bernie couldn't beat Biden for the same reason that Bernie couldn't beat Trump. Not you, Papa Goose. Joe Biden. Oh, okay, I was gonna say money in my mind. Why did you turn on me? Okay, I gotcha. Joe Biden. Oh yes, yes. I knew what you're saying. Will you shut up, man? Yeah. Well, I should have realized as soon as man was at the end. Yeah, because that was. Excuse me. Money in my mind. Wasn't that the same guy that he wanted to fight? Oh, wait. Did he want to fight him or have a push-up contest with him? It was something fucking moronic. It was one of the two. They're both, again, Trump and Biden are both idiots when they when they have to speak for, or put it this way, when either one of them speaks for a long period of time, they're both going to say something idiotic. Both of them. Yes, I think that was the same guy. I don't remember what it was. I might be wrong. I don't know if he challenged him to a fight or a push-up contest, but it was something like that. uh, how about having candidates that's not 100 years old? Well, it's a no good. That's up to the voters. I'm completely with you there. I don't have a problem with that at all. But that's these are the people that were elected by the people. So we're stuck with them. Philip says, there was a time when I fancied myself a socialist. Then I started working and paying taxes. It happens to a lot of people, Philip. It happens to a lot of people. Well, it's not a secret that this budding socialist movement in the United States is buoyed by, and huge percentages, very young people who don't have a lot, if any, experience in the real world. That's been the case in most socialist movements. Bernie was screwed over by the Democrat Party in both 2016 and 2020 primaries. I don't disagree with that. More so in 2016. In 2020, he had every opportunity, though. Once it got down to him and Biden, he had every opportunity to beat Joe. And yes, absolutely, the Democratic Party didn't want him to get the nomination. There's no doubt about it. For one thing, he's not a Democrat, never has been. And another, he doesn't meet the traditional Democrat standards. But he did have every opportunity to beat Biden. It was early on, there was more thrown at him that he survived. When it got to be head to head, it didn't go his way at all. It went to Biden heavily. It's not like Biden was eking out victories over him. He was throttling him. When's the last time I voted them? Would have been Obama. I voted for him against oh my gosh, McCain. I always have to remember that because I voted for him once, didn't the other. I voted for him against McCain, and I voted for Romney. But again, both of those were almost coin tosses. They were so close. But yeah, I voted for him. I believe Clinton I voted for on his second term. So yeah, again, it all depends. I'm more than willing to vote for either side. Street Racer said, I've got a few years before I have to do taxes, but with this stream, goodbye confidence, good fucking bye. Nah, Street Racer, and the thing of it is, I guess gloom and doom are always going to be the topic of conversations, what on most of our minds. It hasn't gotten that gloomy yet. I mean, taxes aren't fun, never are gonna be, but there's still light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
Philip says, 2 women are standing on a corner wearing potato sacks. Which one is a streetwalker? The one wearing the sack that says Idaho. Oh, I love terrible puns. Oh, Philip, that's a good one. That's a classic bad pun. Idaho. Excuse me. Matthew Boone says, people will start a movement like the socialist movement when they no longer feel they have representation. Both parties have become more about big business interests rather than common man. Well, that's called, it's also known as cutting off your nose to spite your face. So basically, you're going to start the socialist movement because you feel like you no longer have representation, when the socialist movement is in essence the concept of giving more money to the government. And you think that socialists are going to have only the people's interests at heart? Yeah, check that out. Crack open a history book on that one and see how that's worked out. BTG says, fun fact, the Russian White House is 400 years older than America is as a country. In other news, want to be president? Have a tagline of free candy. Good candy. Free good candy, BTG. You remember that video. Free candy is nice. If it's not good candy, deal's off. Okay, guys. Unfortunately, I got to go. Thank you guys so much for this conversation. I said, well, vote for Sarah Palin for first female president. Good father says. Yeah, I think her ship has sailed. Guys, thank you so much for the stream. Again, I am always and will continue to be impressed by the level of intelligent discourse we can have in these streams. It makes me feel good. I said it earlier, and I mean it. I've learned lots from having these types of streams. Even on topics, again, might not change my mind, but it's fun to learn a different perspective. Or even more so, just to learn why somebody feels the way that they do about something. and I really appreciate that. I had a lot of fun with this. Now, it is Thursday. There is sticky stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. This sticky stuff has got a lot of politics in it, so it doesn't smell that good. It's a little tainted. I can't lie. I don't. So I would say keep your official trademark sticky stuff fanny pack on, because if nothing else, you might want to keep a little of this for the same reason that you would have like that stink perfume to prank somebody or something. But there is a little bit of stench of politics on this sticky stuff. I apologize, but tomorrow's Free for All Friday and the sticky stuff will be premium. But here comes Pampu Pampu, sticky stuff. Oh yeah, sticky stuff with sticky stenchy stuff. The stench of politics, sticky stuff for all of you, Tomorrow's will be much fresher, much nicer, because we'll bang, okay? Flashily like Buggy. And as always, most importantly, even when we're talking politics, goosh, 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 goosh. Goosh.